scale of time than that. As you prefer. What do you do with your life?
Um, in many respects, Zevram has been fighting this war against the Zentarum for a long time. But in many respects, he's done what he's wanted to, and that was to save his city that he grew up in. And for him, that's enough. I think he he understands that there are greater plots at work, but as long as Waterdeep is safe, then the forces of good, so to speak, have a bastion from which to fight their war from. Um, I think he will take his sister Kalal and um, make her a home in the Troll Skull Tavern. Um, Perhaps even letting her run the place, seeing as she has experience with it. And then I think he'll return to the circus to see if they'll take him back. Yeah, I guess I haven't got anything beyond that at the moment.
All right, that's really cool. That's really cool. We'll elaborate on that at some stage later in the session. Sanj, what's the oh my god. Oh, I was talking about how we need fresh blood, and while it's great to have people coming in from within the group, Grady and Sealib and Bramwin, they're all interested in joining Spelljam.
Yeah. They just sent me a message before. I was going to wait until you were done to tell you.
Alright, well, let's take care of that from here and there. I'll just give Brady the link. Or do you want to take care? Can you do that, Sash? Send
Yeah,
links
sure. You keep going.
Yeah,
I'll
thanks.
tell them.
Yeah, cool. All right, incredible. Yeah, I don't even. Anyway, I don't know how to deal with this. It's obviously really good news, but it's like it's I don't know. Life's like that. Assange, you've returned to the surface. What the goals that you began with, like as an NPC when you were a Zentarum agent, the goals that you began with as a young wizard. How do they differ from the man you've become?
Yeah, they are. I think they are drastically different, honestly. Like when Sanj was first getting started, I think the Zentarum had offered him basically anything that a budding wizard could ask for. It was the free means to conduct his own research. It was access to their resources. Good. I mean, shit. He climbed the chain pretty well. Before eventually, coming to realize that, it was all a crock of shit, really. His superiors were more or less evil. They weren't exactly here for good intent. And meeting with the collective, some of which are here now, some of which have been gone for a while, it was a bit of an eye opener. In realizing that there's a bit more to the city and its people than working under the umbrella of an organization like that. And so I think that granted Sanj a bit more independence. He went from wanting to submit research to Candlekeep and hopefully joining their ranks to now wanting to put all he had learned and all that he is likely to learn to the benefit of the city and the people that live there, rather than perhaps more selfish goals. It became a matter of, all right, what can I do now for the greater collective, rather than just me and the people closest to me.
Did you just say that you turned away from capitalism and became a communist? No, sorry.
Red-blooded through and through, mate.
Workers of Waterdeep, you have nothing to lose but your chains.
You and that goblin that I think that Zevran was probably the only one who actually met the goblin. But you and the goblin wagon maker.
What an annoying player.
Oh, man. Perhaps less, shall we say, chirpy about it. But yeah, it was very much like I'm gonna become a really powerful transmuter, and I can do great things with that for more than just myself. So I will.
Yeah. Well, that's brought me to like that last line that you just said. Transmuters are agents of change, right? And that's what you epitomise now. An agent of change for the better. Right. All right. Adrastia, you don't need to go too far into the future, although you can. I don't even know if you had any ambitions to begin with, to be honest. But if you did you achieve them?
I'd say that initially the ambition was to achieve some sort of governorship over Skullport.
Oh yeah, that's right. And
But
yet we
after-
only went to Skullport for like 5 minutes the entire campaign.
Yeah. But after traveling with this group for so long, I've realized that settling down and taking a sort of desk job, as it were, would be far too boring. It's way too much fun to go to interesting places and kill interesting things. So that's what I would continue to do. And if I remember correctly, I think it's Jarlaxle has some sort of assassin organization, because I remember we got a card for like 1 free assassination or something like that way back.
Certainly did.
I'd try to contact Jarlaxle and see if I can make a name for myself as an assassin.
We'll get to that plot line quite soon.
Okay.
So, Fargrim and Keviak.
Yeah.
What's the immediate effect on your lives after the end of Undermountain? And again, we don't have to or even want to necessarily go too far in the future. How have you changed? What would you like to do next?
Well, Fargrim's sort of overriding motivation is that, as far as the gods have told him, he's supposed to reunite with his brother, and then together they're gonna wage a 2-man war against the entire Zentarum. And I imagine that once that he gets Keviak topside and into a bar and a couple ales down, Keviak is 1000% down for that. So I'm envisioning they do the Arnold Schwarzenegger Predator, grab the arms thing and ride off into the sunset to take down the entire Zentarum by themselves.
Well, they won't have to do it by themselves, because as you'll soon realise, there is a bit of a concerted effort to dislodge the Zentarum. But we shall get to that in a moment. And Valeria. If Adrastia was the odd man out, then Valeria was practically in a different orbit to the rest of the party. A member of the group for quite a long time, all in all, across multiple planes of existence with these guys, and yet, was she ever truly a member of the group, Valeria?
She's come to appreciate skill sets that each of them have offered, but even over the time that she's experienced with them, and as you said, the multiple planes, she's never really come to completely mesh with them. Her goals have always just been similar, seeing them as a means to an end, and allowed herself to be a tool for them as well. And when she returns to the surface, she probably spends a brief time recuperating, but is unsatisfied in the end to stay in one place for too long. Consciously, she attempts to not reflect on what exactly she has become over her long years of adventuring, both before and after her original retirement, and both with her original adventuring group and this one. Deep down, she's hates what she has become, but tries to hide that part of herself away, becomes even colder in her emotions for it. She spends what time she has left on this earth, this plane, doing the same two things she's been trying to do since the beginning of meeting this group. Dismantling the Zentarum completely, getting her revenge for the death of her wife Catriel and her daughter Jade, and beyond that, and finding a good death in her own eyes, spreading the influence and dutifully serving the Pale Lady, who some know as Pale Knight, and the easiest way that she can do that is by serving Midnight Dawn.
So as we can see, there still is unfinished business that we have with the Zentarum. And indeed that should be obvious, because they hold Dragonspear Castle, which forms more or less the border of this Banelar Empire that is supposedly under construction from the shadows. But before we work out exactly how you go about continuing to thwart the efforts of the Zentarum, I'd like to have a look at some of the characters that have come and go, and in this regard I apologise, since many of you won't know a lot of the characters. There might be a whole bunch of characters known only by me and Sash, but such is the nature of such a long campaign, and I hope that you'll bear with me through this. One of the people we rescued down in Sea Deeps was a tabaxi, a female tabaxi. And we were in such a hurry that we didn't really pay them much mind. This was in the first room, and we were still in the middle of a skirmish, an ongoing battle. When we blew up this area, in fact, I believe it was a fireball that blew the machines up, and one of the creatures to fall out was a female tabaxi. Her name was Ariel.
Oh.
Sorry. It was a previous character that got lost down here.
Yeah, I think. What? Siloin and I were here for the Ariok too, right? That was
Yeah,
Mark's
I remember.
monk.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. She
Wandered
wandered
off.
off by herself on the
down
lost
the hole.
level.
Yeah, I remember that was like my second session or something.
Brilliant. I'm so glad. I'm so glad that we can start with something that's familiar. So Ariok's been a captive within Sea Deep ever since she was brought here by an Umberhulk. The Umberhulk wasn't hunting her for food. It had been enslaved, dominated by the Mind Flayers, and it was doing their duty. So she was dragged down into Sea Deep so fucking long ago. And there she has been a subject of Alterdeep, the alternative simulation of Waterdeep. There she's been a subject of Alterdeep all this time. And quite frankly, quite honestly, she's a little bit sad about getting pulled out of it, because Alterdeep was fucking rad. She was having so much fun in Alterdeep, doing cat burglaries and going to balls and just sleeping underneath the giant walking statues. It was better than the real thing. And so she's a little bit sad when she gets pulled out of it. Does anyone have anything to do with Ariel? Do you, I don't know, buy her a drink or anything? Do you or is it just like a street cat where you acknowledge that the neighbour has a cat, but you don't go out of your way to feed it or pat
Um, I don't think my heart could take it losing another pet, so I keep my distance.
You don't want to get attached.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a catch-up would be in order, but I think I'm of a mind, like Zevram. It is good to see Ariok again, and we certainly had our fair share of exploration and combats with her help. But whether or not our goals align is another question, and that is probably where the divide occurs, I think.
She tells you that Waterdeep's good, but Alterdeep was better. You should build an Alterdeep. That's what she thinks you should do with the rest of your life. Build an Alter. So after a few weeks on the surface, Ariok gets bored and goes down into Undermountain. She is never seen again.
Fitting.
Fair enough, yeah.
You might remember one Amara Carruthers.
Of course. We recently adventured with her for a brief period.
So Amara has become the public face of the Harpers here in Waterdeep. She's like their poster girl these days, but she still maintains her role among the government as a magister. A lot of people call in to question whether it's really impartial to have a member of a possible terrorist organization who is also one of the city's judges. But in legal matters, it's quite clear that she has the full support of the Hidden Lords, and indeed of Leia or Silverhand herself. So wagging chins are just going to have to keep on wagging because her position is secure. Her life is complete. She has all that she could desire, except, for those of you who know her particularly well, except for love. Amara's a bit of a romantic, in her own way, but it's a heroic romantic. She's a savior of the people, a righter of wrongs, a romantic hero in the classical sense. But she's never been lucky in love. And that's just the sad life story of many people. How does Amara fit into your lives these days?
I suppose she's the... I mean, she's not really a beat cop, but she's the law enforcement person that you know and that you sort of name drop in case you get in trouble.
So you use her reputation for your own ends.
Yes, of course. How else would I use her?
Indeed. All right. I'll assume no one else. If you don't speak up, then I'll just assume that you have no real connection with a character that I discussed.
All I can imagine is that if she's in a government position, I might be a thorn in her side, depending on what contracts Jarlaxle has me work.
That is cool. You're like I can't think of an analogy from Hollywood, but two people who went two different ways, and
Odd roommates, or
Land of the murder, another noble's dead in the city, and they find the noble with some pretty distinct-looking bolts sticking out of them. It's like, God damn it!
She's gonna
You're
come
like
asking you first.
Al Pacino's character in the other one in The Heat, where they have that like diner scene where like one of them's a cop, the other one's like a bank robber. And they're like, I understand you and I respect you. Like,
I think.
Yeah, so like,
Sorry, Lynn, go ahead.
that's all. Just saying, that's all I can think of.
I think if Amara is she's a magister, right? She's like got the Hidden Lords on her side, etc. If anyone is going to help me, Sanj, lobby for hydroelectric power in Waterdeep, it's probably going to be Amara, right? all this stuff we found down here in the sea deeps, that on a much larger scale, 4 water deep, would be pretty impressive. And I'm not going to be able to do that alone. And if she's in with all the pollies, then she'd probably be the first point of call.
Glad that you all gave me those answers, because it shows the relationship that you did have and you continue to have. You're each using her and she's using you. You don't necessarily maintain a friendship anymore, but rather a professional, courteous relationship among the movers and shakers of the world. You're like fucking members of the Illuminati, right? Like all in different factions, but occasionally you've got to call up your old Illuminati mate to pull some strings, and all for the benefit of a city that we all love. We're all we do have ties to society and we want to thrive, but we're underhanded and self-serving ultimately in our objectives. I'm glad to see that coming forward. It's really quite interesting. Okay. Here's a hero for you, Farah. So Farah was forced to travel through each layer of hell after losing her soul in such an unfortunate set of circumstances. From after defeating Avernus, she went to the layer of Dis, and from there to the third and the fourth, all the way down to the final layer, Nessus, the 9th layer of hell, where after defeating countless devils and demons and always staying true to herself, she finally reached the throne of Asmodeus himself. And how could he not be impressed? How could he not be impressed with this journey from the mortal world through every layer of hell all the way to his throne, only for her to raise her fist and threaten him? How can he not admire the gall and guile of this girl? There's one thing that Asmodeus loves, it's fucking with people. And if there's one group of people he loves fucking with the most, it's his own archdukes. He absolutely adores the ability to mess with their plots, to mess with him. And so he sends Farah back to Avernus to fight alongside her mother in the belief that it's going to corrupt her, just the same as it corrupted Zariel. And he's going to have like the master and the apprentice enacting his will on Avernus. Couldn't be happier. But instead, of course, through the power of love and belief and the goodness in her heart, she redeems her mother. She restores Zariel to an angelic state. And together, they free the enslaved city of Elturel, which is chained to the base of Avernus, and they return it to Faerun, cut the chains and return it with the aid of some adventurers, somewhat nameless adventurers from Baldur's Gate. They return this world back to where it should be in the Forgotten Realms. Farah and Zariel return along to Faerun with it, champions of Elturel and heroes of the Lord's Alliance. How do you guys feel? How does the party feel when you see this news on the front page of the newspaper?
I think.
Oh yeah, Elturel. Forgot about that.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I think this story has got to be pretty heavily embellished in some places, because nobody could be that pure of heart to make it through all the way through hell and not be corrupted. At least that's my character's opinion.
It
Who does
is.
this bitch think she is? A paladin?
It's like a combination of like disbelief and relief, right? Like the whole. Sandra's always felt responsible for her fate. It was his call to descend and like go looking for his father and others, and as a direct result, we lost her, and that's always sat pretty heavily with Sanj. And to see her successful after however long it took is a massive weight off of his shoulders.
Valeria would, depending on if she's alive when all this finally happens and ends, which is unlikely, exploit it for the betterment of the Pale Knight, if she wishes it. But beyond that, she doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, Zirum is likewise happy to see that she's succeeded.
All right. Old friend, Eldritch Gaia. Eldritch's legal authority, of which he is so proud, is granted for life. He is given great privileges in Waterdeep, and he is elevated to becoming a ranking member within the Lord's Alliance. One of those key diplomats that you might send to a foreign city to negotiate a crucial trade or a military alliance in the 11th hour. He continues to serve the Temple of Ilmater, the god of suffering, for the rest of his days. He endures the suffering of others, so that they might be free from the pain and the arduous of life, particularly the poor and the destitute, the downtrodden. He has vast amounts of wealth from his time as an adventurer, vast amounts of wealth. His breastplate alone is probably worth 100,000 gold pieces. And he uses this wealth to fund numerous orphanages and libraries and schools and hospitals and temples and monasteries. And he doesn't ask you to contribute. He doesn't suggest that you should contribute. But he is filled with joy when he talks about the good of charity, of how much he benefits in his own soul from the act of charity. When you see this demonstration, do you become philanthropists yourselves?
Still have leprosy?
Let's say no.
That's the important part.
I mean, I don't want to go near him if he still does.
No, I don't think he can go on diplomatic missions if he has leprosy. So.
I mean, I'm glad that he's turned a new leaf, but I still don't want to get near that mess of... I don't know, he carries a lot of baggage with him. I don't want any part of it.
Sanj might offer help at the libraries, but would probably send a simulacrum in his place.
Just in case.
Simulacrum professor.
Yeah.
That's actually a really interesting concept. Everyone thinks that they're being taught, like their PhD by Sanj, but it's just Sanj's fucking pod. How would you feel, right? Like, you spent 4 years learning writing from Brandon Sanderson, only to discover that he sent his clone instead.
It's more for Sandra's like personal safety. Yeah, Aldrich is a bit of a loose cannon, and I
Good
think
point.
I don't have time for such trivial matters.
yeah,
I'm a level 16 wizard. Get the fuck out of here.
That's right, man.
I fucking love it. It's like, oh, our former like kind of evil teammate, like, found God and is like turned to charity and shit. Like, oh, how do you guys feel about that? Oh, he still has leprosy, right? We don't go the fuck near him.
Good, finally
I'll
showing our
send my
true colors at the
clone
end.
to Dane to associate with him.
Alright. So, that's Aldrich. next character, someone familiar to most of you.
Oh yeah.
Yes, yes. So Lucia Thamcathra, a noble-born wizard with whose loyalty to Waterdeep has never been in question. Lucius is given great power as a public servant and as a scion of his house. Is that how you pronounce that word?
Scion, yeah.
Scion? Yeah, good. I used to call it skion. But I got blocked.
What's he skiing on? Snow.
Yeah, that's it. So he's got great political power, not just because he's a noble, but also within the government itself. But you guys learn, perhaps through Adrastia, maybe even through Zevram, but you guys learn that he has been elevated to one of the hidden lords. Go. Lord Lucius Amcathra is now one of the 19 or 20 people that control the most powerful city in the world. One of the most powerful cities in all of existence, I suppose. Anyway, he dedicates his wealth to the discovery of arcane technologies. Maybe it's Sarge who discovers it because he investigates who this is that's pouring so much personal cash into the project. But he dedicates his vast wealth of both himself and of his house to the discovery of these new arcane technologies that are going to give Waterdeep an edge over its rivals, such as Am or potentially Baldur's Gate or Mirabar. It's going to keep Waterdeep as number one on the Sword Coast and throughout the Forgotten Realms. In particular, he dedicates a lot of resources to fighting the Zentarum. He never gets over his obsession, his hatred for their organization. He also pays, personally out of his own funds, for a true resurrection ritual that returns Sanja's mother back to life.
Oh wow.
How can you repay such an action?
I'm not sure it would ever be possible. If there is anything that Sanj personally can do, if there is anything that perhaps the Izet League could do, then all he need do is name it. If that is the case, that's no small feat.
And so, with your friendship finally mended, you are once again at each other's professional disposal. And the cities of Waterdeep and indeed of Ravnica both benefit from your alliance. Whoops.
I think if I learned of Lucius, I would name drop him constantly as one of the Hidden Lords.
He has to come around personally and explain to you, Zevram, that the point of being a Hidden Lord is that people don't know that you're a Hidden Lord.
Oh, I completely get the point. But I'll play it off as being, oh yeah, okay, sorry, and then I'll keep doing it.
He then has to dedicate 5% of his personal wealth to a misinformation campaign that counters your general blabber.
5%. Oh my goodness.
Mission accomplished.
Just completely smears Zevram's name in like every tavern in Waterdeep. Just like, oh yeah, can't believe a fucking word out of that half-drow's mouth.
Passes the half-drow act, which basically recognizes half-drow as untrustworthy.
I figure that 5% of his income towards this campaign of his is more than enough repayment for the amount of times he said no to the things I can buy with gold.
Perfect. Finally, yeah. Finally, you get revenge on the purse strings. Alright. So Pyra Solace returns to Avernus. She plans to foil the plots of Arkan the Cruel. Arkan the Cruel has a plan to summon Tiamat on a distant world named Kryn, because he couldn't do it on Faerun, on Tyrell, so he thought he'd try somewhere else. He is, sadly, happily, he is defeated. And when he is defeated, Pyra cuts the hand from Arkan and attaches it to her own wrist, betraying Tiamat and establishing herself as the avatar of Tarkesis, which is kind of fun. But that doesn't bother us because, like, it never. We probably never even learn about that. But maybe Sanj reads about it in the Ravnica Interplanetary newspaper one day. New despot rises on Kryn. Arkan loses hand and neck.
Huh. Would you look at that?
Trivia doesn't really affect you guys. Anyway, something that does affect you guys. Don Lorenzo Trastamora. Don Lorenzo is promoted to Admiral. He liberates Ulumbur, which is that little island down near Mintarn. Liberates that from the Zentarum. Yeah, that's it.
Place, yeah.
Yeah, and liberates it from the Zentarum, any influence they might have had there. Increases the trade with the Moonshays. Contains the ambitions of Luskan. So Don Lorenzo as Admiral is a pretty influential seaman. Yeah, that was... Anyway.
Fucking hell. Oh,
It wasn't even like funny in context.
I know.
You're just a child.
That's what made it funny.
Alright.
Sorry.
So, how does the party?
How does he attend to his duties?
You tell
Nobody?
me.
Fine.
What assistance? What assistance do you give this guy when he's like, come along, help me kick the asses of some pirates? What are the things that you guys do with it?
I was just making a joke about the word duty.
No, I know, but it's funny because I was going to ask the question anyway. So it's like, so it was a good segue. Does anyone team up with Don Lorenzo and do anything on the high seas, or you all afraid of water?
Yeah, heavily armored dwarves and water don't mix that well, especially since. Side note: Keviak will go on a quest to recover the relics of King Malaire.
Brilliant idea. It is a successful quest.
Does Don Lorenzo intend on capturing that Zentarum flagship? You know, the one with all the arcane turrets? Because if he does, I'm there with him for sure.
Brilliant. We capture the black ship, and when we discover that it has a demon engine powering it, are we going to keep this corrupt abyssal vessel, or are we going to sink it? What are we going to do with it?
Take the guns, leave the ship, sink it, yeah. Because you mentioned there's a whole lot of arcane armaments and so on. All of that could make for, yeah. Take all that, and then the demon engine, yeah, as far as I'm concerned. Or I suppose it's up to the Admiral, right? My counsel would be to sink it, get rid of it. But it's his call, I suppose.
This was a Zentarum ship?
Oh yeah.
It was. Yeah.
Lyria might come along at that then. And if she did come along, then she'd probably persuade him to try and not get rid of the abyssal ship, and that she would dispose of it herself. But would actually use the demon inside of it for her own ends.
Yeah, says the warlock. I'll totally get rid of this demon for you guys. Trust me.
Hey, I'm a trustworthy person. I have a minimum 25 persuasion check. I don't know. Something like that.
They've trapped a Baylor within there. So, the Baylor is trapped within this engine. That's
Baylor?
the ship. Yeah, right?
Is that infernal or abyssal?
Yeah, it's a demon. It's a chaotic evil thing, basically.
We're good.
It's yeah.
I always get Pit Fiend and Baylor's mixed up.
Yeah, well, they're the same thing. It's a different alignment.
Yeah, one's supposed to be the Balrog though, and one's supposed to be like the Balrog, but it can talk.
Okay.
So yeah, you have a pet Baylord, which is pretty fun, and you guys know get up to lots of hijinks in your side quest, in your what are they called? A spin-off cartoon. In your little spin-off cartoon, you and the Baylord get up to hijinks. You and
Excellent.
Jonathan.
B story.
That's
Fantastic.
it. Alright. Where is this next character? Seems out of order, but I'll see if I can find it. Search for it, that'll reveal it.
Oh shit, there's only one character in this campaign I need an epilogue for. Griffith.
He's coming up real soon.
I thought he got disintegrated.
Isn't she dead?
I thought I had his hide somewhere in my inventory.
Tilly is returned to flesh by Halasta. She wasn't killed, she was petrified. She was petrified in Undermountain, and she is returned to flesh by Halasta Blackcloak. And Halasta recruits her to serve as the boss monster on level 1 of Undermountain. So
That's
Good
adorable.
she remains loyal to Bahamut, however, and so she only defends herself against greedy and murderous adventurers. And she gives her treasure to the newly built temple up in Waterdeep. So she's like this lawful good paladin kobold knight that's in charge of level 1 of Undermountain. I guess this is relevant for most of you, but it's not irrelevant for Keviak. Because as Lord of Malerken, level 1 of Undermountain is part of your kingdom. What do you do when you find out that there's this adorable kobold paladin who has claimed the level for herself?
When he hears about it, he like throws a fucking shitstorm and like carves his way through the first floor of Undermountain, like kicks in her door. And the second he sees her, he's just like, "Aw, I can't like, oh god damn it!" Like he's just like, "Fuck." He like puts the door back in place and leaves.
She invites you in for a beer, and while you're having a drink, you both learn that you have lots of stories about Zebra being a goofball, and you bond over tales of idiocy. Down to the ranks.
He names her Baron of the first level of Undermountain.
That's a great title. Different positions. So maybe they're in pistol. Named NPCs, there they are. Named NPCs. Alright, Cloud. We all remember Cloud, right?
I have the one and done Dragonborn.
Yeah, very
He
brief.
gives an exclusive interview to the Waterdeep Wazoo about the battle in Minton. And when you read about it, you learn that Cloud, the curator, was solely responsible for the the war in Minton. He basically single-handedly defeated the Zentarum. And you guys totally sucked. Like, you just made absolute fools of yourself. You were really a burden on his ability. Yeah, there you go. The true story, the eyewitness story of what actually happened in Minton is that you guys were incompetent extras, and he did everything. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, those bitches didn't even want to go kill a dragon. Like, what the fuck?
And we could have killed the dragon if they hadn't have, chickened out. If they had any spine at all, then we would have been rid of this dragon once and for all. That's all I'm saying.
I think Sanja's content in knowing that if anyone's gonna have something to say about this, whether out loud or otherwise, it's probably going to be Lucius. Because he was there and knows for a fact what actually happened. But this doesn't bother Sanj, knowing that Lucius might pipe up about it. I don't know. Not for me to get involved.
Yeah, he writes a letter to the editor, like setting the record straight. He fucking 3-page letter, and they have to condense it. But he gets a letter to the end.
He pays him
later
extra to
read in the
publish
book-
it in full.
Exactly. Yeah, he would. He would too. You later read about Claude the Curator again in the Wazoo, like a few months later. Apparently, he died after his patron claimed his soul and ripped it out of his body.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What a way
How
to
do you
go.
react to this news? How do you react
Warlocks,
to
am I right?
this news? Warlocks. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Yeah. When like day one you sell your soul, like you gotta think that comes back eventually.
The trick is finding the right patron.
Yeah, I mean the guys who really have it scammed are the people who sell their souls to an angel. Like, ooh, oh no, I'm gonna sell my soul for guarantee of heavenly afterlife in exchange for cool powers here on Earth.
But you,
Oh no,
you would have
such a awful contract.
You'd have to be an absolute pedant for the rest of your life, though. Like, you know, like maybe I don't want to drop names, maybe like Mother Teresa or something.
I don't know. ASMR go their entire lives with an angel telling them what to do, and they turn out all right.
Yeah, they get a free pass. Andrew Forgemaster, who fought. He was there when we took on the what was that dude's name? The
Took on the Xanathar with him, I
Hyla.
think.
The Immortal of Mintarn.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Hyla, the Immortal of Mintarn.
The first time
Yeah.
around or on the island?
The first
the
time
first
around,
time.
when we got teleported into the tower, like
Yeah.
we set up the teleport spell, and Keviak and Anvil like went through, and then there was a beholder in the room, and it
Oh,
turned
that's
around
right.
and just instantly canceled the spell,
Yeah.
leaving us trapped in there with it.
And we had to like walk to
Yeah,
the
then
tower.
everybody else. Yeah, you guys like tried to fly and then got pulled
Pulled over by
over.
the fucking police.
But you can't be flying in water deep.
Fuck.
Literally like looking past his shoulder at the tower with these like fucking explosions coming out and shit. He's writing a traffic ticket.
Oh, fuck.
Right. So when Anvil Forgemaster walks into the Troll Skull Alley, you guys have a lot to talk about. You can drink and you can talk about old times and you can talk about dead beholders, but he tells you in confidence that he has discovered the Soul Forge. He went out looking for the Soul Forge underneath Anarok, the Anarok Desert, and he has discovered it. And what's more, he's also found God. He has converted to worshipping the World Serpent, the oldest deity in all of Faerun. He says, forget Shauntir and forget the Dwarven guys. Like, you've got to go back to the start. You've got to go back to the creator races. That's the true power, the power that created the world. And he wants you all to come and join him. He wants you all to come and join him. We're going to go for a quest. We're going to go back into Anarok. We're going to go underneath the desert. And we are going to. I'm going to take you back to the city of Orim. I'm going to show you the light. Do you come with them?
This sounds like a cult.
Yeah, I was just literally about to say that. I was just about to say that.
Can I invest in the venture without joining it?
Absolutely. He will allow you to invest because that way we can spread the word of the Sarut to more people.
Yeah, I
You're
wish him
literally
luck.
investing in his doom cult, like his Lovecraft evil, like gonna summon an Eldritch God cult.
Look, he's had a hard life. He deserves the win.
Alright. So Zebram pays for him to continue his expedition. He takes a bunch of doomed souls with him. the desert, the Underdark, the most dangerous sector of the Underdark in the Forgotten Realms.
Like, you ever been in a campaign and there's some like ridiculous evil doom cult that like has a bunch of money and you're like, where the fuck, like, where are these assholes getting money from? Like, who's looking at these psychopaths and financing them? It's like, oh, maybe sometimes they just like have an old friend who doesn't really know them and is too polite to not finance their adventure.
Yeah.
Fucking A.
I can't recall if he got disintegrated or if you skinned him, but through the power of magic, through the power of love and friendship, he is back. And you learn that he is back because you read about him in the newspaper. Griffith has been put on trial in Waterdeep and found guilty of public indecency.
That seems right. Yeah.
The magistrates claim they do not know what yiffing is, but it should be illegal.
What you think is, but I'm going to declare it illegal here and now.
For those who don't know, this player was quite rude to Christina and just sexually harassed her.
Guy was a total
essentially.
fucking furry and shit. Like, yeah, went on
I
like a
couldn't have
misogynistic
gathered that.
tirade.
From his character picture at all.
Yep.
He is sentenced to join the Dung Sweepers Guild for 3 years, and the hopes is that he's going to learn some manners through public service. You don't give the guy another thought except for the occasional remember when roll my eyes, until one day you find him cleaning your toilet, cleaning your sewers. He's been given the job of cleaning your dunny from underneath. So maybe you go in to take a shit, and there his face is looking up through the pipe that leads straight down into the sewer.
He's a dog, so he uses like his tongue.
Oh,
What was his official race? What did he choose?
Some
Was it-
weird homebrew shit, like a shifter, like a shifter or
I
something
think
or other.
it was Shifter, yeah.
I remember he was kind of circumspect about it, but he was making his character. He basically said like, I want to homebrew a Wolfman race, or I'm not playing, or some equivalent.
Of course. Alright, sounds good. Anyway, moving on.
what do you do when you see this guy cleaning your toilet from underneath?
Take an extra shit.
Flush.
Alright, let's move on. The sooner he's forgotten, the better. Alright. Here's someone that we haven't seen for a while. JB Nevercott. Jarl Axel. Jarl Axel invites the party to meet with him in Luskan. So he's hoping that the whole group turns up. That's the invitations. As far as he's concerned, you guys haven't retired. You've just haven't found the next big score yet. So he's inviting you up to be a part of something very important.
I'll definitely attend, and I'll even invite my sister along, and anyone else really that I know
I'd
would
go.
go.
Yeah. This is Jarl Axel, like the Drow mercenary.
Yeah.
Leader
But in
of
his
Dragon
form.
Death.
But inviting you as JB Nevercott, as the dwarven.
Of course.
entrepreneur.
He has to keep up
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that persona. I only know him like out of character.
Okay, well, a dwarven entrepreneur from Cormier, very rich, comes up to you. And tells you that he's gonna make you very, very rich. Just don't say no. Don't ask questions. You in?
Anything for a fellow dwarf.
All right, we're in. Valeria?
Sorry, what was the question?
coming up to Luskin for one last job?
Is the job killing Zentarum?
It is not.
No.
You're lost. Come on, we need you, Sanj. Is he here?
He's muted right now.
I said BRB a second ago in the chat.
Yeah, he might not be here. All right. So you head up to Luskin and discuss the lay of the land. And Jarl Axel, invites you all to join him finally in his assault on the host tower Arcane. He sincerely hopes that none of those present are going to pull out now.
No, I see this as a good thing. The Arcane Brotherhood has always been a thorn in the side of the Sword Coast, and I think Luskin would do well to have a new government.
Between the combined forces of Reagan Diarthe's finest assassins and you guys, the Sword Coast's latest adventurer heroes, the mission is a success. The Arcane Brotherhood, even its own home tower, cannot withstand your assault. Jarl Axel, however, leaves the leader, Arkling Grief, alive. He's not. Anyway, I won't go into that. But he leaves him alive. But informs him that the city of Luskin now belongs to him, Jarl Axel. And Grief is forced to accept and declare fealty in a ritual that you guys witness. So the King of Malerkin is a witness to the host tower Arcane bowing down to its new Shadow Lord. The host tower Arcane has some pretty amazing magic items within its vault, as you might expect. If you name it, it's probably there. We loot the fucking place, and Jarl Axel gives you the opportunity to take one item from the stockpiles, the treasure stockpiles of the host tower Arcane. What do each of you take?
Just out of curiosity, what is he saying has happened with the rest?
What was that? What
What
happened
is
to
he
the rest of
saying
the
has happened
items?
with the rest of them besides the 4 they're taking?
Well, most of them go to Bregan Diarte, but he does leave a token amount for the host tower Arcane to hang on to.
Not knowing any better, Zevram thinks that the Trollskull Manor could do with a decent garbage disposal, so he looks for a sphere of annihilation.
Oh my goodness. Alright, you only get the sphere and you don't get the talisman with which to control it.
Perfect. I don't suppose.
Now we don't need a dung sweeper anymore.
I don't suppose one of the
Griff
Quadrox is
falls
here.
into the... Griff accidentally falls into the
No one notices.
One of the Quadrox? No, not actually. Oh, did they just find one? Unfortunately not. No Quadrox yet. You'll have to keep searching.
All right.
Fargrim goes through like a really like detailed, circumspect like inspection of all the shit, trying to find like the best artifact for him. Then like Keviak finds another pair of winged boots and throws them at him.
Fuck yes!
Try these, man. Like you got it. It's the best shit ever. Flying dwarf brothers. Like it brings tears to Keviak's eyes. It's like I can't imagine anything better than flying through the air, kicking ass with my brother.
What Duke's latest circus act?
I'll probably take something like an amulet of proof against detection and location. As my new line of work as an assassin, I could just wear this passively and be undetectable from divination magic.
Very useful.
Brilliant. And so you then disappear from wherever whenever and wherever you want. You remain completely undetected. by both eyes and minds. The invisible lady.
Undetected until you feel a bolt in the back of your head.
So, failing to find the Quadrock, are there any iron stones, perhaps?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
Sandra's very happy with that.
NPCs are in 3 different groups, so it's a bit hard to keep track of them. There he is. Next in line. A minor player in the campaign, but one that was there all the way from the first scene. Gelester Silvermane moves on from the death of his lover, who died a year before the campaign began, and he learns to love again. He gets married to, I don't think he might not have made it to this campaign, but he gets married to Renea Neverember.
They were made for each other.
They were made for each other. They fall in love and they are married in the spring. Those of you who know either Gelester or Renea are invited to the wedding. What wedding gift do you give this happy couple?
I think I would splurge on a gold filigree rapier for Renee.
Oh, that's nice. They really like that. And they make jokes about poking with the rapier, and everyone gives.
On the eve of your wedding, I know you'll be poking each other, so here.
Yes. Oh, okay. Yeah, that was brilliant. Renee thinks it's a great joke. Gelester is just embarrassed by the whole situation, but he's glad that you came. And he wants to hear the heroic tales about what you've done. But you remain friends for some time. Okay. Next. There she is. Ledani, Zevran's sister. She invites the characters on a quest of her own. She finally wants to search for and discover the promenade of Elistre, who will accompany her on this journey into the Underdark.
Me, obviously.
I would too. Mm-hmm. Sandra's there.
Elistre is a drow goddess. Are you coming along, Adrastia?
If I can find time in my schedule.
So busy.
Do you find time, or does something come up?
I imagine, I guess so.
You do have an appointment to get your hair and nails done, and you cancel them to go on an interplanar quest.
Sounds like a good way. Yeah, sounds like a good way to kill interesting stuff and get lots of valuable items.
Probably no Zentarum in this mission, Valeria. Are you there?
Negative.
Didn't think so. You're focused at the moment. What about Fargrim or Keviak? Do they give a shit about some elven priestess? They're certainly not asked to come.
Fargrim probably doesn't, but Keviak, seeing it as his duty to root out elven influence in his Undermountain, he'll go along not really understanding that it's to increase elven influence, but yeah.
Point. I would say, because this is technically within Malerkin, it's your domain that this promenade is said to be in. Good reasoning. All right. When you discover the promenade, it was a temple to Elistre on the 3rd level of Undermountain, on the Sargauth level where Skullport could be found, but deep within Undermountain. When you discover it, you learn that there was a massive cave-in The whole thing was supported by magic, and when magic briefly faded during the spell plague, nature took over and the roof just fell in. Caused an earthquake up in Waterdeep above, but that was 100 years ago. People don't think of it much these days. Anyway, when you discover the promenade, you also find a portal. You think it goes to the abyss, but you're not quite sure. What do we do?
It goes to the abyss. I don't know. Do we have a feeling that there is something beyond the portal that we are chasing outside of the promenade itself?
Not necessarily, but we come to the promenade, and having discovered it, there's this portal to the abyss. We can't close it. We can't find a way to banish it. Sanj figures that the only way to close it must be from the other side. So having discovered the promenade of Illustrae, the job is kind of incomplete because there's a gaping big hole in reality here. Mind you, we're not sure it does go to the abyss. We just speculate that.
If Sanj is willing, I would trust him to get us back somehow. And yeah, I guess offer to go through and close it.
I got
Sanj,
this.
you're happy with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I'm capable. And
And
if they intend to restore this place to what it was, and if this does lead to the abyss, it should be shut.
yeah. Keviak, how do you feel about having an abyss hole in your backyard?
Well, naturally, a portal to the Elven realm would lead to the abyss. So this is no surprise.
this is why I'm here.
Obviously, like, I thought we came down here because it was a portal to some awful, like, horrible realm. Like, we wanted to close it. Like, I don't understand what the dilemma is.
The real joke, we'll soon find out, is you are more right than you could possibly know. But finally, Adrastia, this is your heritage more than anyone else's. How do you feel about entering a portal in the home of one of the Drow gods?
Well, I'd say of all the wizards, I definitely trust Sanj the most to get us back to the material plane.
Yeah.
And if anything, whether it's for Illustrae's sake or not, just going in there and closing it just to fuck with Lolth would be a reason enough to go.
So you guessed, and when you travel through this portal, you learn that it doesn't technically go to the abyss, because Lolth's realm is no longer in the abyss. She used to have a layer of the abyss called the Demon Web Pits. I think it was the 66th layer. But she used to have a layer of the web called the Demon Web Pits. But there was a transitionary period during the spell plague where she evolved into full godhood. She went beyond being a queen of demon to a fully verified goddess. And in that process, the Demon Web Pits evolved themselves. They went from being a layer of the abyss to a plane all unto themselves. And that's where we are. And within this Demon Web Pit layer, they are the home world of Lolth herself. You battle through Babyliths, which are great monstrosity spider things. And you battle shadow demons and Yok Lols and all the other horrors that Lolth has created. And you discover a brilliant, bright, and pure light. You discover Illustrae herself, the goddess Illustrae, trapped here within these webs, bound here, held in place. And when you free her and you bring back light to the world, you bring back hope to the Drow, you restore the power of the Temple of Illustrae back on Faerun, and when you cause a golden age for Illustrae worship upon the Sword Coast, what reward do you ask for from a goddess that you have saved?
Keviak asks no reward, but upon returning to Waterdeep, he has a portrait commissioned of Illustre, like chained up.
Brilliant.
I was half expecting you to ask for a lock of her hair.
I was thinking about that, but like a pervy, like dwarven equivalent. Like, no way he's gonna like fucking start drooling over some elf, and when he gets back, he was like, "God damn, that was hot."
Oh my goodness.
Your painting is worth 10,000 gold.
Illustre like blesses the painter, like, God damn it.
She loves it. She thinks it's amazing, and it really captures the moment. And yeah, she loves it.
I think I would ask her for a moonblade. And
She will have to
technically,
fashion one
which-
herself, though. So can you join her in the process of creation?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Will you join her in the process of creation? Raise eyebrow.
Oh. Ding, 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 ding.
I mean, bards have long since wanted to fornicate with the most powerful of creatures. I might be the first one to fornicate with a god. This is a story that I'll be telling until the day I die. Hell yeah.
I don't want to break your heart, but you're not her first bard. but don't be let down by that, because it's still a truly divine experience. And one day, in 6th edition Dungeons and Dragons, there will be a pair of twins, Asimar, descended from Drow.
Everyone's like, "Oh goddamn, I'm gonna go down in the annals of bard history," and like Illustre calls him by the wrong name or some shit.
Shakespeare.
I don't care.
Shakespeare.
Still count.
That doesn't matter, I had sex.
Certainly does. It does. And let me tell you, she knows how to dance. Anyone else? Adrastia, what's a gift you might seek from a goddess?
I would ask for a unique Piwafwi, basically, that is basically like combines the abilities of an invisibility cloak, protection of the amulet of proof against detection, and ring of mind shielding. So
Jesus.
basically asking for a Piwafwi that can hide me from anyone, even a god.
She can fashion such an item, but we will have to hunt perhaps some legendary creature with which to get the skin for such an item. What's an invisible, undetectable creature, and where do you and her find it that you can use for the basis for this invention?
That's a good question. I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of the monster manual, unfortunately. I'm not sure.
Skulk is
that's-
permanently
fair
invisible.
call.
I'm not sure what. Would,
What was that suggestion? Sorry.
Skulk is permanently invisible.
a skulk? What's that?
Maybe the
It's like
king
a
of the
PR
skulls. What is a
1/4
skulk?
creature. It's like I think it's a demon. But there's like very few conditions. It has like special invisibility. Like children can see it, and like a torch or a fucking candle with the
Wow.
wax of a dead person that nobody knows. Some weird
Yeah,
ass
they're
shit.
like ghosts.
But they're permanently invisible.
There can be some Skulk Lord, interplanar Lord of the Skulks, is terrorizing children along the Sword Coast, creeping into their bedrooms and scaring them, and when the terrified children are trying to show their parents, but the parents just can't see them. How do you track down and hunt this Skulk Lord, a creature that you can never hope to see? How do you harvest it?
I think I would ask Sanj to help me create some sort of magic item based on the spell See Invisibility. Whether it be a ring or a pair of goggles or whatever it might be.
Goggles it is.
Turn to your friends, and your process is very effective, and thus you get a cloak that hides you permanently from even the gods' sight.
Alright.
I think that leaves Sanj.
Yeah, I would ask Illustre to help me, or perhaps gift me a new spellbook. One that she has handled and made, if possible. So that I might keep it as a... I mean, this is Sanj has never had anything to do with the gods, really, let alone freeing them, right? This is an absolutely momentous occasion for him. So, yeah, commemorating with a new spellbook that he would never let out of his sight, of course. This thing would become his most prized possession.
Teaches you to cast all the spells of light, even the ones normally denied to wizards.
What a gift.
That is pretty good.
Duchess Morwen Daggerford, whom we briefly assisted on our journey along the trade way, and whom we later freed alongside others within Avernus. Duchess Morwen Daggerford has been working alongside for Valeria for some time before she turns to the rest of the party for assistance in the final push. You see, Valeria, the Zentarum have been concentrated in Dragonspear Castle, and if you remained interested in those events, then you would have been active in the area, just the same as Lady Daggerford was.
Of course.
But absolutely. So, what role do you think you might have played as a lone wolf operator against a... you kind of understand how it is. The Zentarum have got a presence in this area. Their headquarters is Dragonspear Castle. They're trying to establish an empire, but they're trying to do it without kicking up too many hornets' nests. What activities were you undertaking to undermine their expansion?
Probably threefold. Guerrilla attacks with her stealthy abilities, with kind of occasionally recruiting locals in the region, and maybe even trying to dissuade away some of the less staunch members of the Zentarum organization to act against them. But using all those individuals, whoever she could get through her charismatic ability, as pawns that she gave zero shits about, to just slow down and slowly corrode and erode the Zentarum presence, while herself taking out key members of leadership throughout the area.
Excellent analysis or description. It reminds me of when we were on Elturel, falling through the Astral, and you raised up mobs to follow you, and likewise, you're just as successful here, more successful than you anticipate. And your attempts to find warbands and guerrilla groups become armies. And that's how you get in contact with Lady Duchess Morwen Daggerford. She hears about this freedom fighter leader, this warband leader, warlord out there hitting the Zentarum without any assistance from the Lord's Alliance or anyone. And so she wants to talk to you directly and be involved with you directly. And the pair of you are kindred spirits in a way. You both have a very similar objective. You both have terrible tales to tell of the pain that you've endured from this horrible regime. And finally, we finally invite the rest of the party in. You've been so busy, so is she. You finally invite the rest of the party in to begin the siege or the destruction of Dragonspear Castle. This is a big operation. You've got Waterdeep, you've got Baldur's Gate, and you've got Silvery Moon, all providing armies. And none of them can provide particularly big armies. They can only provide about 2,000 or 3,000 soldiers each. But altogether, more than 5,000 soldiers, almost 10,000 soldiers can come together from 3 different directions to hopefully destroy Dragonspear Castle, but we soon find that we're unable to do that and we will have to settle for a siege. I assume that everyone within the party is coming along. Is there anyone who declines the invitation to deliver a hammer blow to Dragonspear?
I'm there.
I wouldn't miss such a party.
You have my axe and my sword.
Fuck the god.
And your brother.
Yeah, there we go. So resistance proves to be a lot greater than we anticipate, or maybe rather than the military commanders anticipate. And the siege drags on. Drags on for 3 days, and at that point, although an army can, obviously besiege a castle for more than 3 days, that's not really the issue. After a period of 3 days, when they realise that they're going to be unable to overwhelm the castle, it's defended by an ancient dragon, there's devils, there's the Zentarum soldiers themselves, and monsters like manticores with wizards riding them. They're pretty hardened in this position. The military commanders realise that they're not going to be able to defeat them in the field, and what they really need to do is send a strike force in to maybe annihilate leaders, maybe close the portal, maybe find the spear that controls the ancient worm. There's a whole bunch of tasks to complete within Dragonspear Castle, and they turn to you since they have no one else to turn to. So how do you try to defeat Dragonspear Castle when you infiltrate it? What would be your approach to toppling a monster-filled dungeon controlled by the Zentarum and their devil masters?
I think Sanj is of a mind to pursue that spear you've mentioned, because the way Sanj sees it is currently the ancient worm is what, on their side, being used by the Zentarum and their masters. What better way to alleviate some pressure than to take it off their hands and use it against them, at least at first.
Makes sense.
And that becomes our primary objective, and we achieve that objective, but no others. After securing the dragon staff, we get out of Dragonspear Castle because we are simply overwhelmed by the defences. However, with the dragon on our side, or rather the dragon in rebellion anyway, the combined force of the armies and the rogue dragon and our own efforts means that the castle is shattered. Dragonspear Castle is once again reduced to nothing but a ruin, and the armies of the Zentarum are defeated. The dreams of the Zentarum's control of the Sword Coast are completely shattered, and they're driven all the way back into the east across that great swamp, the Evermoors, and past the mountains, all the way past Anarok. It's not until you get over towards the Moonsea that their influence becomes strong again. That's how great our destruction of their power bases. But we never closed the portal to Baitor, to Avernus, which lies deep within the base of Dragonspear Castle, and we certainly do not eliminate every last monster or rogue soldier. So the dreams of the Zentarum are shattered. The Dragonspear Castle is reduced to a ruin, but it is far from a complete victory. How does this partial victory make you feel?
I mean, it's a hard war, and
Fortunate.
am I lying or is Nick lying?
Like
Might be Neo.
It was
we still have problems to deal with.
Caught about half of that, Neo.
The important half. Yeah.
Valeria
That's-
probably would. Go ahead, Lauren.
I'm just saying, I could see the silver lining in it. If the job isn't quite finished, that means the Zentarum aren't completely destroyed. They might rise to heads again in another 100 years. And if they do, I'm still alive. And just beat them down again.
I think we came into this with a priority, and the priority has been achieved. We knocked the Zentarum back across the Anarok to let them fester and do their thing, and the Sword Coast is safe for a while longer. And I think I'm of a mind of Keviak and Fargrim, right? These problems we can now deal with at a later point, but the main issue has been resolved.
Valeria would probably take some solace in the fact that the leaders that most likely, out of character at least, most likely took her family's lives were taken on the way to push the Zentarum back to the Moonsea, as her original village was well west of Cormyr and southwest of the Anarok. But she's never truly satisfied because the Zentarum, as she's always kind of wanted since that day, is not completely defeated. And that kind of festers within her until she dies. But she reluctantly accepts the fact for now.
Excellent. Okay. Here's a face that's familiar.
Oh, verily.
Verily.
Well met, and verily does Elminster remain in your debt for the rest of thy days. There is no favour, that he will not grant you if it is within his power, as the Sage of Shadowdale and one of the Chosen of Mystery. He gives you each a parcel of land, 12 acres, on the border of Shadowdale and the great elven forest of Cormanthor. It can be reached by a teleportation circle, and you can decide what you would like to do with this land grant if you accept it at all. But we'll again reiterate that he is truly gracious about what you have personally done for him. He's the sort of man that is generally generous, and that people always come to him with problems that he has to solve. And he's quite embarrassed to be on the other end of the stick, of being the little drowning puppy that was helped out of the pool by some passers-by. He knows that you didn't necessarily go to Avernus to rescue him, but rescue him he did. And for that, he is eternally grateful.
Is he willing to help me fund or start a terrorist organization, seeing as he has such ample experience in that field?
Exactly as you say. He has centuries of terrorist experience, and it would be a shame for such expertise to go to waste. He would be delighted to have.
I think while Sanj now considers himself like a master transmuter, I think his skills still pale comparatively to Elminster. And with that in
Don't worry,
mind,
everybody else does too.
huh? Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead. I said, don't worry, everybody else thinks so too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's that, and yeah, to my point, yeah, Sanj would actually ask if Elminster would take him under his wing
Be delighted.
and teach him more to be well off in his chosen school is enough to a point, but then knowing what Elminster is capable of just leaves Sanj hungry, and yeah, he wants to learn more.
Elminster wants to work on your projects as well, so you have a working relationship where, ironically, you are his boss a few times a month, and he is your tutor a few times a month. It's a really interesting professional relationship between wizards.
Fargrim will ask to use the land that Elementor grants him to found a orphanage for orphan dwarves.
He's delighted, absolutely delighted. What will you name your orphanage?
Shit, what's a dwarfy name for an orphanage? Saint Niesburg.
Love it.
Wayward Anvil? I don't know.
Will we hammer your kids into shape?
That's a bad one.
Yes, it does. Alright. Your neighbours, Embrick and Avie. We don't have a picture of Avie because Avie has been transmuted into a beautiful thick dwarf, a BBW dwarf. But they are very much in love, and they owe it all to you several times over. They couldn't have ever dreamed that the day that they came over with a bouquet of flowers, and I think they might have brought like a basket of fruit or something as the neighborhood, a neighborly gesture, welcoming the new owners of Trollskull to the neighborhood. They couldn't have imagined that from that day they would literally owe you their lives. So they say their vows now as for the first time as man and wife. There's another wedding. Everyone's invited this time. You can all, and while you're all thinking about what gifts you might give, they inform Zevram that they are naming their first daughter after him.
I try to explain that it's not really a unisex name, but I'm flattered nonetheless.
but like you're trying to explain this to a unisex dwarf, and it doesn't really, yeah.
You know, it's the thought that counts, and well, I just let them know. I warn them that their daughter will have a very large shadow hanging over them with my name.
She's gonna get bullied.
I'm just saying it'll be very hard for her to outdo me.
Big shoes.
Hope that she will have just an ounce of your grace and gratitude.
Yeah, I have plenty of that.
A brief appearance was made by Jaron Brightblade. He was out there in the Moonshay Isles, ran a resort. he's done really well for himself. He's become a household name synonymous with fashion. The way we have Gucci, they have bright blades. His wealth is enormous. His wealth is fucking enormous because he's selling like cloaks of protection and displacer cloaks and stuff like that to the fashionistas of Waterdeep. And his wealth just grows so large that he legally purchases one of his own moon, buys one of the tiers of saloon up there in the sky. So he retires.
Like, yeah.
What a boss.
He retires up to this lunar landscape, and he opens up one of the most exclusive resorts in the universe, basically, and invites you guys to come and stay. And it's a magnificent resort up there in the moon, on the moon. What is your favorite attraction for those of you who accept the invitation? What do you like most about the lunar resort?
It's so far away from all the Zentarum.
That's a good thing. It's a good thing.
War, come to the tier of saloon.
Sanj has an absolute blast on this thing he comes to know is called a carousel. He bobs up and down on those little horsies, and it's a great time. Yeah, he loves it. It's so simple and so fun.
Yeah, you're gonna have to bring your family one day. Midnight Dawn. Midnight Dawn travels for some time with Valeria, but as much excitement and activity and adventure that can be had on the Sword Coast, it's not satisfying to someone as interplanarly minded as she is. To her, the Forgotten Realms is a village in a great big multiverse, and it's a crime not to see more of it. So she sets off without a word, without telling Valeria that she's ever going. One day she's gone, and she leaves and travels beyond the crystal sphere of the Forgotten Realms and beyond the astral sea, where she reaches the fabled ocean of antiquity, which exists outside of what we know as reality. And there she reaches the River of Time, a river that she's sailed before. She travels up the River of Time to see the future and back into the most distant primordial past. And she learns things that only those who are long dead, or those who haven't even yet been born, know. And with all the knowledge gathered from 1,000 worlds, from 1,000 era, she returns. Valeria has barely even noticed that she's gone. She hasn't been gone for very long. When she returns and informs Valeria of what she has seen, of all the might and the majesty and the mystery and the magic. But she has some important words for you, Valeria. She's learnt the truth about Pale Night. And she knows that Pale Night seeks only to consume. And most of all, she seeks to consume that which serves her. That is her most prized delicacy, devouring that which is loyal and true and loving. For she has no love for you, or for Midnight Dawn, or for anyone else. No love at all. She just feeds on love. Love is her sustenance. And she will feast upon you and your essence and who you are until there is nothing left of who you were or who she was. Now, this was the secret that her mother learned. And she implores Valeria, she implores her to abandon Pale Night and to reclaim her own soul. What do you do, Valeria, with this knowledge?
Does she have any proof, or is it just her word?
She's travelled through space and time. She's seen it. She's witnessed 1,000 times what happened to you. She's
even
seen
that-
your own future. She's seen your own future, but it is only her own word. If she were to show you an illusion, it would be only an illusion, product of her imagination. She has no proof. For Pale Night has devoured it all.
Valeria is probably like distraught by this information and torn. She hates the dishonesty, the lies that she's been fed by Pale Night after listening to Midnight. Because she does trust her. She's as close to a daughter in her eyes after all this time as she's been able to get to after Jade's death. But she's, at the end of it all, torn between, even with the consummation that Pale Night will eventually inflict upon Valeria if she continues down this road, that nothingness is something she yearns for, the ability to forget it all, simply because she won't ever be able to transpire past what's happened. Not really. But then the other part of her wants to know what other possible future Midnight thinks that she could have if she were to stray from the path she's currently on. Her family's dead. Her only real goal in life has been to destroy the Zentarum since that moment, and everything else seems to have no taste, no flavor, no meaning. And so she would be cast adrift if she fled from the path she was currently on and doesn't know where to go. Seeks Midnight's counsel on what could be.
Perfect. Quiétude of Skullport has gained respect as one of the most learned scholars in Waterdeep. She's offered a position as a librarian at Candlekeep. She takes the job, and one of her first tasks is to give an accounting of Sea Deeps and the Intellect Devourers and the Illithid. Is there any key information that the party can provide her so that she can write this treatise?
With the eidetic memory, I just give it all.
Just give it all. That's it.
Here's what you need to know. Here's how it happened. Here's how
She concludes that Intellect Devourers are much higher challenge rating than one heart.
Good fucking point.
That's basically her thesis.
She is the monster man.
Yeah. That's it. She adds it to Volo's monster manual.
Well, updated.
Exactly. Alright, moving on. Ranastado. Ranastado writes a letter to you. He implores you, the party, to help him rid Scornubel, the city that he is in the south, down near El Terrell, kind of. Anyway, so Ranastado writes a letter to you. He needs help ridding Scornubel of the Zentarum. The Zentarum is currently an occupied town. There's 200 Zentarum veterans who have basically moved in and throwing their weight around, essentially, trying to get him to make laws that suit them, like your trade deals, for example. There's 200 experienced soldiers, 200 veteran soldiers. 10 war priests who are riding wyverns, a fire giant, and finally this motherfucker, if I can find him. Here he is. Does anyone remember this guy?
Oh, this prick. Yeah, fuck him.
Didn't we kill?
Yep.
Well, we killed a version of him. didn't we?
Multiple times.
You killed multiple times. Alright, you have found the final El Robe of Fae. He has 10 war priests riding wyverns, he's got a fire giant, he's got 200 veteran soldiers, and they are occupying a town that we don't want destroyed. How do we take this town? How do we drive the Zentarum out of this stronghold?
We don't really have an army at our disposal, do we?
You could
Do we
raise
really
one.
need
You've
an
got
army
lots of
then?
money. What's the name? Amara could, give you an army of harpers or something.
We could ask if Sanj is coming with. Just ask Elminster for a bunch of Firestorm scrolls. Just have him single-handedly wipe out the army by himself.
There we go. Firestorm scrolls. Wipe out the town as well.
Yeah, you don't want the town.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
About that.
Oh right, all the innocents.
Who put the trail in charge of collateral damage?
Thinking too much like my character, goddammit.
How do we do it? It makes sense to go after him, right? If he's in charge. Cut the head from
Well-
the snake.
Yeah, covert ops maybe.
Easily enough. We got etherealness and permanent invisibility and bullshit.
Yeah, if I can just get within 400 feet of him, he's pretty much dead.
Alright. So you begin the assault by destroying their general, and from there, it's really just the fire giant and the priests on their wyverns, because the soldiers, once the leadership's taken out, they surrender and bow down to your mercy. Okay, cool. So you've now got the chance to confirm Ran's leadership. Is he your mate? Do you endorse his rule over Scorniamer?
Only if he relaxes a little bit about the whole magic thing. I know he's very particular about disliking magic. He needs to relax because it's great.
He will open a wizard school, and he will call it the Sanj Blueskin Wizard School.
Thanks.
Question mark?
Yeah.
Okay. Moving right along at a bit of a pace. Redbeard defended the road, and he has erected a bronze statue commemorating the way of the Battle of the Way In. He turns to you guys and asks you, what do you want the statue to look like? He's going to put down the money for it. What do you want your statue to be?
So is this like a statue of ourselves or just?
Well, that's up to you. The Battle of the Way In. What do you reckon our statue should be?
Bobblehead Zevram.
Can I suggest it is me looking rather heroic with the rest of the party sort of lying down on a rock next to me, reaching up towards my torso?
You can suggest it all you
He's
want.
like holding his sword upward.
Yeah.
Kevier's wearing a chainmail bikini.
He is really dismayed that he came to you guys and asked for your opinion.
Zevram's like providing artist sketches and all this shit.
The way in becomes popular, like a popular. How do I say this tastefully? a popular venue for gay couples to visit. It's the architecture of these chainmail-clad men and drow blokes holding their swords to the sky. It's the novelty never wears off for some people. And speaking of this, in a very uncomfortable transition, segue, we return back to Renee Neverember, who was recently married to Gelesta, as we mentioned earlier. They've gone on their honeymoon. They went to Luna Park, which is Jaren Resort up on the moon. Their favourite part was when they rode the luck dragon. They thought that was really cool. And they tell the party, while they were riding the luck dragon, they had this wonderful idea. They decided to buy Zevrim's old circus, and after buying the circus, Zevrim, they learned all about the tragic accident that happened to your friend. What was her name?
Mirabella, I think.
They learned all about Mirabella's accident. And after buying the circus, they still had enough money to buy to have her regenerated, to have her restored, the damage done restored. And at that, a door opened in the room where we're having our tea and biscuits, and Mirabella walks out. She walks straight into the room, and she comes over and gives you a hug, Zebra.
I hug her back, somewhat perplexed how she's been healed.
They explain that with money, anything's possible, really. But they paid for a greater restoration to be provided by the priesthood. They couldn't bear to hear our story. And Renee Neverember, he's got a lot of money, right? He recently won a legal case against his father, and he sued his father for like 100,000 gold pieces or something, and that's where he got the money to buy a circus. So it's kind of Dagolt's money, or kind of Tiamat's money, if you want to get far enough back.
Yeah, I'm extremely thankful. And I suppose I hope that Mirabella can forgive me for maiming her in that accident so long ago.
The newlyweds give you guys a bit of time alone. They deliberately get up and tiptoe out of the room and close the door behind them. Of course, it was long ago, Zebra. You're a big star now. Wow. It must be amazing to have come so far. From the circus all the way to being one of the most important people in Waterdeep. Are we still here?
Yeah, you're here.
He's just sent a message to the chat. I think he's had someone come in. And
Oh, right.
As you've spoken to him, yeah.
All right, perfect. Well, she is eager to catch up with Zerber, but that can be left for later in any case. Still getting closer, further down the line, and closer towards the end, we reach. Where is he? There he is. We reach Taurus Aurelius, the Minotaur philosopher. He's been elected the Hylar of Mintarn by the pirates and the merchants and the fishermen. They've all voted for him. They think he's going to make a great Hylar to Mintarn. The Lord's Alliance invites him to join their organisation, but he declines. He doesn't want to join the Lord's Alliance. Instead, he wants to maintain an independent and neutral island. Continues to pay the dragon exorbitant taxes, goes so far as to put the dragon on Mintarn's new flag. Do you guys ever return to Mintarn? And if you do, what do you do there? No, not much interest in Mintarn. That's fair enough.
Not while the Red Rage is there, no.
You're not alone. Valia wants to get the hell out of Mintarn as well. She's a fully fledged member of the Harpers. She begins a career as an adventurer, becomes an explorer, goes up and down the Sword Coast, eventually retires in the harbour of Waterdeep, where she serves as an operative for Amara. The Waterdeep Wazoo print gossip that Valia and Lucius, are kind of a thing. They have private liaisons underneath the docks, but it's never proven, so who really knows? And at that point, I think I will also take a short break, and when we come back, we will wrap up with what happens to your character, having now gone through a absolute menagerie of NPCs. See you in a few moments' time.
I'll be right back as well. Shoot to the bathroom. Good time for it.
Lauren, are you still here? How low are you guys in your Dale's game?
5, I think. Yeah, I think it's 5.
Alright, I'm back. Sorry, I needed to hear a story about how he's going back to school tomorrow.
Unacceptable. We decided to kick you out of the next campaign.
No shit.
Yep.
So what's happening? What did I miss?
Arctic's taking a break. He might have like 1 or 2 NPCs, or he might just straight jump into finishing up our characters' backstories, and that'll be a wrap. I think
Cool.
is basically the message. I don't remember the NPC name, but evidently you were closed in a room with her at a wedding. I don't know. Seemed like there was some history there. That's about all I know.
Mirabella, the one I was
Sure.
talking about. Yeah. That was basically my love interest from my backstory, and I got kicked out of the circus because I maimed her in an accident in one of my shows.
What a monster.
Yeah.
That seems to be a theme with your character. I only know 2 of them, but
What, accident prone?
yeah, accident prone. Alduin burns some baker dude or some shit. He
Yep.
ever hurt somebody in a circus.
I
Have you
guess I
considered
like
not hurting people? That hurts
yeah,
people, Carl.
that kills people, Carl. I guess I like the redemption arc.
I can get that. Although I don't know if there's really, I don't know how much redemption is needed for hurting a baker. Or did you kill him?
No, blinded him.
Oh, I mean that's pretty bad. But I mean, I don't know. It seems on the lower end of possible things you could do.
To be fair, I don't think I would have blinded him because I wouldn't have had to defend myself if he didn't try and come after me for sleeping with his daughter.
I don't know. Okay, redemption. Sure. It's good to know Alduin has man parts. Valdir definitely is questioning it. Although he doesn't really have any room to judge, so it's fine.
I had planned to make Alduin more of a playboy than he is.
I think he got that accomplished in this campaign.
Yeah.
I like Alduin. You pull off naive well.
I have experience.
I'd say outside of his brother, I think Faldir thinks the highest of him of the group. Although it's probably just because proximity and what he values and shit.
Hmm.
Cool. All right.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Went back.
So we begin the final stage of the campaign where we reflect on what's happening with you guys yourselves. Alphabetical order, because that's the way it's going, and we'll start with Adrastia. I don't mind if we go over time today, it doesn't bother me, but I am mindful of the fact that we've got 1.5 hours left, I think. So my intention was to ask 4 questions for each person, and then to provide a scenario. So if you want to answer the 4 questions in depth, by all means do so. If you feel like we don't have time to do so and you don't want to, then by all means skip them. Like I said, I'm certainly glad to stick around after it, but I think that we'll get through it anyway. An hour and a half is a fairly long amount of time. So without further ado, I'll get straight into it. Adrastia.
Okay.
The questions, the first question at least, how did your life change as a result of your heroic journey? I haven't reviewed what I've written, and so it's interesting. Like, what am I asking? Like some sort of fucking is this a psychological review? Is this a Myers-Briggs test? This is Myers-Briggs. So how did your life change as a result of your heroic journey?
I'd say became more open to the idea of working with other people. Before a bit of a lone wolf, and now more willing to accept the other people's help to get the job done. So, yeah, I guess better teamwork skills.
Like, are you hired? Like, when you can you start on Monday? What do you do in retirement?
It's a good question. I suppose it would take her a really long time to retire, considering she's an elf and lived for probably be at peak fighting ability for at least another 100 years. But I guess as after another century and age finally starts to catch up, probably go back to start to consider her original ideas some more, as in try and rebuild Skullport with the wealth she's accumulated from her 100 years as an assassin.
So really answers the next question: where do you spend your days? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say it's Skullport. I'd see if I can perhaps head, seeing as I'm getting a little too old to actually do the assassinations myself, perhaps head my own little, I suppose you could call it a sub-branch of Jarlaxle's organization.
And that answers the last question as well. Who
Oh,
do you
really?
spend your time with?
Yeah, I guess Jarlaxle, why not? I'm not too
That's
sure
a-
like the character.
It's a great answer because your final story involves Jarlaxle. He comes to you with a proposition. This could have happened in the first year, it could have happened after the 100th year. Entirely up to you. But Jarlaxle comes to you with a proposition. He wants to see the restoration of House Frey Branchet and of House Tekken-Jewis, if possible, as well. So he wants to make you a matron mother, and he's willing to fund the war himself. The war to establish your house within the great city of Menzoberranzan. What do you say? You don't have to give up your cloak. You can still remain hidden at all times. In fact, it's probably best if you do. But if you want, he will provide the assassinations, the army, the funding at hand to restore the nobility of your house.
It's definitely a tempting offer, but I'd ask, what's in it for him? Why commit so many resources for something like that?
Well, you can't be a matron mother without a husband.
Ooh.
Ooh. I can't really say. I don't know what he's like as a character, but I'd say if he's anything like Adrastia in the sense that, ruthless and whatnot, then yeah, perhaps you'd accept. I think.
Yeah, ruthless but pragmatic. He's flamboyant where you are not, though.
Yeah, he'd have to earn her respect, but he's got 100 years to do it. So
He
He
started
probably-
a long process of drow courting.
yeah, whether it takes him 10 years or 100 years, I think he'd eventually earn her respect.
So, okay, so you've accepted. Now you've got some decisions to make. You have unlimited wealth. You've got the most feared Assassin's Guild in the world at your side. How do you announce your return to Menzoberranzan? When you say "I'm back, bitches," how do you deliver your message?
Good question. So this is how the initial assault kicks off on the Menzoberranzan.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, assuming it is an assault and it's not like just arrive on a palanquin carried by elephants.
Make way
yeah.
for Prince Adrastia.
I guess me and a few other assassins posing as messengers, perhaps, or just other nondescript drow, make our way into like the center of the city or a noble's court or something like that, and then just throw off our cloaks and start shooting, leave a trail of bodies in our way.
just fucking the fucking Central Park massacre.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that
Get
leads
rid
to
of
the
it.
next question. Because there's only room for 20 great houses in Menzoberranzan. Like, there's only 20 seats in Parliament, right? So there's only room for 20 great houses. And you deserve to have one of those great houses. You didn't enter to be mediocre. So how do you ensure that you re-establish yourself in a position of power and not mediocrity?
Well, I guess that answers that question, as you said.
Kind of does, right? Kind of does. Like when you do the Tarantino entrance, people remember that shit.
Yeah, sure. So anyway, I started blasting. It's basically the plan.
House blasting.
A better way to assert dominance than a little genocide.
And absolutely. A truly brutal establishment of power. Okay, every house needs income. What resource or service do you build your wealth and power base upon?
I think. Well, of course, there's always the assassinations, but that's more Jarl Axel's thing. So perhaps I'll remember Jareth's. Was his name Jareth? Jaren?
Yeah.
Brightglade. I remember his request for spider silk, and I would seek to do all I can to dominate the spider silk trade.
Excellent. Excellent. And so ends the story of Adrastia, matron mother of Menzoberranzan.
It's pretty good. And I guess in the very last years of my life, I'd attempt to train a scion and then pass off my cloak, my Puafui to them.
A little Jarl Axel or a little Adrastia. Gotta be a girl.
Alright, that's it. I think it's a pretty satisfying conclusion to me.
Very good. Alright, Fargrim. 4 questions. How did your life change as a result of your heroic journey?
He found what he was looking for the large part, which was his brother and like a greater meaning in life, sort of like mission from God to take down the Zentarum. Like he knows what he's doing, and when he's done, like he's gonna be able to feel proud about it.
So what do you do in retirement?
Probably go like I can't envision him being like the retirement type. Like I just envision like him and Keviak kind of wandering the lands and sort of righting wrongs and like the Pulp Fiction joke. Like I'm gonna wander the earth and like that kind of shit.
So I guess that answers the next one. Where do you spend your days?
Yeah, wandering around with his bro, hitting taverns, getting in bar fights, and rescuing people in distress.
And you've already answered the who as well. So that was nice and compact. Okay.
Dwarves, the bromance goes on for an eternity.
Brilliant. They get their own little spin-off show as well. The Dwarven Brothers, the Flying Dwarven Brothers.
It's a fucking like buddy cop show. Like one's lawful good, one's chaotic good.
Both alcoholics.
Yeah.
Alright. So your life quest is over. And against all odds, you've succeeded. You should feel fulfilled and complete, but there remains an emptiness that you're trying to fill by wandering and journeying and questing and not giving up. But as the years go on, Fargrim, as the years go on, there are things that separate you from your brother, and it's not just the fact that one guy makes his bed and the other guy sleeps in a nest. There's something missing within your life, and the older you get, the more you start to feel like it might be a woman. Maybe you're the marrying type. Maybe Keviak isn't, but maybe you are. Does a woman enter your life? Or rather, a woman does enter your life. It's kind of as if the fates demanded it, as if all the stars suddenly align, as if Yoko Ono walks in the door to split up the brothers, right? So this woman walks into your life, Fargrim, and she's everything that you could have ever wanted. She's too good for you. There's no doubt about it. She is too good for you. You couldn't hope to have a woman like this, but she seems drawn to you. Who is she, and what about her draws you to her?
The comeliest dwarven lass he's ever laid eyes on. The softest, longest beard.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I mean, all dwarves wear 12 layers of clothes, so sex is more or less optional. But
Yeah.
he will settle down with this comely dwarven lass and probably take over management of the orphanage he's established when the time comes. But
Well,
he's always ready when his crazy brother Keviak comes by to, rear off for a month or two to, go kill that giant that's terrorizing the, village. It's just like it'd be a week, in and out, 30-minute adventure.
look, I was wondering if you'd even have the courage to go and talk to her, but here you are. You've seized destiny by the beard, and you've grabbed it from behind, and you're going for it. That's really admirable. All right, so you buy your property. What's your wife's name, by the way?
Hilda.
So it was Helga, but it's Hilda. It's Helga's sister, Hilda. Perfect. All right, so you buy the property of your dreams with the woman of your dreams, and you raise a family. So what does your ideal property look like? What's so precious about this place that it stirs your heart?
Like I said, he probably settles down in the orphanage. He has Elementster provision to build, and it probably pisses him off. Elementster, that is, 'cause it's like it'd be like some draconian-looking, ugly dwarven keep just kind of jutting out in the middle of this pristine elf fairyland, just chopped up with unruly dwarven orphans.
Absolutely lovely. All right, now, so you've got the perfect wife, you've got the perfect life, but you know what? You've got fucking in-laws, man. You've got in-laws, and they piss you off, man. The in-laws think that you're not good enough for their daughter, among other things, and they dismiss you as a common mercenary. But what's more, they criticize your brother as a Zentarum agent, as unfit to rule, as a common head kicker and drunkard. Do you defend your brother, or do you keep peace with your in-law?
I used to do much worse things than Keviak for the Zentarum. Yeah, I'm not that dwarf anymore, and neither's Keviak.
There's just silence at the dinner table at Christmas.
Yeah, fuck it, Christmas at the orphanage.
Christmas at the orphanage. Well, there you go. And your wife's like, no, you know what? Screw you guys. My husband and Keviak, they how many orphans have you? How many orphanages have you got? Come on. Where's your orphanage? And they're like, oh, and that kind of puts them in their place. So fast forward in time, right? You're a happy man. You've raised. You know what it means to be a dad, because you're a dad to all these orphan kids. But you have a little sprog of your own, and when your eldest boy grows up, Fargrim, and your eldest boy is old enough to grow a beard, you're going to sit him down and you give him a few words of your wisdom. What do you tell this son of yours?
I don't know. Brain dogs are not challenge rating 1. If ever you find yourself in a fight with a brain dog, it dies first. It doesn't matter what else is in the fight. The brain dog dies.
Fighting a Trask and a brain dog first, always.
This advice saves his life when the rest of the party dies when they go into Undermount at level 2. Should never have gone down there at level 2. Brilliant. And so ends the story of Fargrim. We have no Hisoka, but I will briefly go through it, because after a lifetime of violence and pain, he finally knows peace. But there's no peace in his heart. Too many lives has fallen on his blade for him to live a normal life. He has a path of karmic ruin. His journey is among the shadows, and the shadows have no end. Isoka cannot settle down in Waterdeep. He cannot tend a farm in the hinterland. There is only one thing for him to do. He returns to the Elves. He returns to his family. And we return to Keviak. Keviak, who is apparently the king of Malerkin. Apparently. But you know, there's still division among the dwarves, Keviak. There's still a lot of dwarves who claim ancestry from Malerkin who don't see you as fit to rule, even after all that you have done to prove yourself. Even now, there are other contenders. They come to you, they challenge you, but look, they can't. No one can beat you in combat, so there's no way that they can out-dwarf you. They can't out-drink you. They can't. All the traditional dwarven methods, you top them in every one. Your beard's stronger and longer and more lush than theirs. So they try underhanded methods. A contender comes to you, and he offers to buy the crown from you. He will pay whatever you want. In fact, he offers you a ring of 3 wishes. If you will just give up your claim to Malerkin and let him just be ruler in name only, you can still be wealthy beyond all measure and powerful. Just give up the crown, and he'll give you 3 wishes.
Kiviak will ask Sanj to make sure that the wishing ring is indeed real.
I'll have that clarified.
It's real. 3 wishes.
Yeah. He'll accept the offer and use his first wish for the crown back.
Curse you! And that is how you are crowned king of Moraden. Like your final test is one of trickery and of wit, and for all of your, you've always been criticized as a meathead, as a follower, as someone who doesn't think for themselves. But your final test is one of outwitting the smartest, cleverest dwarven thief merchant lords, and now here you are being crowned king of Malerkin by Tyrus Fellhammer, who is like the high priest of Moraden and also a hidden lord of Waterdeep. So this, so you're now king, and you find Malerkin, the realm that makes up part of Undermountain. You find Malerkin is claimed by many factions. There are goblin tribes. There are drow raiders, and of course there's Halas the Blackcloak himself. He built Undermountain as much as the dwarves built Malerkin, and they share the exact same area, so there's a bit of conflict there. How do you establish the dwarven claim over what you consider your levels, the upper levels of Undermountain?
He's probably going to put a call out for all young dwarves looking to seek their glory in the world to pilgrimage to Waterdeep, so that they may undertake a mighty crusade of Undermountain and retake the lost dwarven kingdom therein.
Deus Vult!
Exactly, like he goes on a full-on retake Jerusalem crusade with a bunch of reckless 20-something dwarves in an attempt to reclaim Undermountain for the dwarves.
Call for 20, but 220 answer. And they conquer the upper levels of Malerkin, but they make an agreement with Tilly. Tilly's got this brewery down there by then, and so she's coming.
Yeah, she's already a baron of the first level. That's pre-established territory.
That's hey, the lines here, guys. The lines here.
I recognize her claim.
So you become wealthy beyond measure, like beyond probably anyone else in the party, probably like wealthy beyond measure, and you have great political power as well. What policies do you declare as a king?
He's probably not like a very good or even active king. He's like Rollo the Viking, who they made like a French duke, or what's the guy who declared himself like Emperor of San Francisco or something like that. Like he wears the crown and everybody kind of respects it, but he's more of a just he's such a obvious dwarf that he's sort of a symbol of the community that everybody respects more than an administrator.
They love it. The merchants love it. The guilds love it. It's very popular. Your light-handed rule.
Yeah, like he doesn't lay down decrees or shit. He just protects the community and sort of gives advice. That's usually shit, but.
You have treasures, whether they're glorious or even trivial, that you purchase with your Mansa Musa level of wealth?
Yeah, like he'll put his wealth into the dwarven community, but he'll probably just ask his brother for advice on like what to actually do.
Do you buy anything for yourself though? Like you got all the money in the world. I don't know, a laser gun.
Demon bike.
He buys a demon bike. He commissioned an adventuring man into Alberta to bring him back a hell cycle.
That is a brilliant idea. Oh, right. I knew there had to be something perfect. I'm glad we got that one out.
And two elephants. And two elephants.
They have a bad attitude unless they're in your presence, in which case they lie down like dogs and they just get all calm. Anyway, your people stumble across mithril veins, and in their greed, they unleash a trapped Balrog, which could destroy your kingdom. How do you go about dealing with this threat to the universe?
He faces it man to man.
Guys, how do you reckon this ends?
And if it goes badly, he uses one of his wishes to fucking beat it.
Hang on a second.
Does he get...
Keviak with a pair of elephants on a hell cycle versus a Balrog. My money's on Keviak, to be honest.
He has the two elephants like drag a ramp before him, which he like ramps off. Drives his motorcycle into the Balrog's face, pushes it off like a bridge into a chasm. Then activates his helmet and flies away.
That is absolutely epic, and the Balrog is sent back to the depths of the earth for 1,000 more years.
Yeah, and there's like ancient dwarven carvings made of it, except instead of like, a dwarf with an axe killing orcs or some shit, it's fucking Keviak on his motorcycle ramping off the elephant.
And later archaeologists find it, and they're confused by the presence of this motorcycle riding dwarf.
I'm also like, I love that the fucking like the ring thing. I'm envisioning like some ancient Nordic tale being told to around the campfire about like Odin's story, but instead it's like, oh, the cleverest of dwarves tried to tempt Keviak by offering him a ring of wishes in exchange for his crown. And Keviak accepted. They just used the ring to get his crown back. But that's like some mind-blowing like tale of wisdom and cunning to dwarves.
That is true wit. Alright, yeah, we should see if Am can draw that. That'd be awesome. Okay, fantastic. And so ends the tale of Keviak. Right, one moment. Sanj. Sanj, your parents are restored to life, and they live a luxurious life thanks to the love of their son. Your story becomes famous. It becomes a household tale. Your story is published in newspapers back in Ravnica, and you actually develop a cult of personality back in that distant Ecumenopolis as a model Vidalcan and a model citizen, a model expatriate in another world. You also become a minor celebrity in Waterdeep and truly a hero to Daggerford, invited to sit on the council but truly you are a hero among the people of that small town. You undertake your grand studies into arcane technologies in Waterdeep and in Undermountain, and at the same time you still get to enjoy the rigours of daily life out in your farmland in Daggerford, traditional homeland. So you get the best of both worlds, the city life, following a cutting-edge academic career, doing philanthropy work for the best city in the world, and yet you still get to spend the weekends and your holidays either in the garden or with your pets or your family, or just swimming in your pristine river that runs by the property that you own. But then, unexpectedly, quite unexpectedly, you get offered a prestigious role. The invitation comes from Professor Raizumo, I think, the elephant.
Yeah, the Loxodon.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. And he offers you a prestigious role as a professor of experimental magic with the Izzet League up on Ravnica. Would you like the job?
To return back to Ravnica after all this time. Yeah. Sanj accepts. What an opportunity.
So there's a lot to think about before you leave. What are the sort of preparations that you make for leaving, and what sort of home are you hoping to return to when you do come back after your tenure is done?
Preparations include, let me see. Likely kept under wraps first and foremost to ensure his own safety. A lot can happen with interplanar travel and so on. Likely going to set up one of those cloning pods we've found. Have that organised. Just in case, right? More preparations include baking simulacrum and having simulacrum bake simulacrum. Someone needs to tend to the garden. Someone needs to sit on the council in my place. And so, I don't know if I don't know if Sanj trusts would be able to trust anyone other than, Elminster, Lucius, perhaps, other smart and credible wizards, right? So he will also leave the Quadrach with Hector again, as it was his to begin with. Should return to him. That's not something that needs to come with him. Man, there's so much to do.
All right, it's a good answer. Gives us a vision of just how busy you are before you leave. And so you reach Ravnica and you begin your experiments. What is it that you're trying to invent? You've got all the funding in the universe to invent whatever it is that'll win the Planewalker Wars, right? So, what are you going to invent? With all the magical resources, what is your ultimate goal?
The ultimate goal? Oh, God, how long is a piece of string? Let's see. The ultimate goal. Sandra's ultimate goal. I think he would use the resources and opportunities in Ravnica to, I guess, expedite the development of technologies for Waterdeep and bring back, things like perhaps the sky ship, right? Like, that's been on his mind for a little while. Flying ships, but then, why stop there? Why not consider vessels that can travel, vessels that can plane shift, for example? Things that would help bridge the gap closer between Ravnica and Waterdeep's material plane.
Alright, brilliant.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to start.
You succeed. How does your invention change the Sword Coast? What are some unexpected boons or consequences due to the changes that you have brought about?
I think boons would include, that would open up vast trade opportunities between elements of Ravnica and Waterdeep and even the rest of the Sword Coast. I guess perhaps a consequence would be, I suppose, what you look at would lead to a whole lot more diversity, which I can't imagine perhaps a lot of people might find that troubling. A whole new bunch of, you start looking at things like more simic hybrids and things like that, crazy like animal people rocking up and more blue-skinned people, Vadalken and so on.
There goes the neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly. It might be a bit tedious, you're walking around on eggshells. It might be difficult to form a trusting relationship between the new faces and the old.
Anything else that you'd like to add?
I think, above all, Sanj would try to like spearhead a new age of how to put this. It's like we'd said, right? He's an agent of change, and he wants to be a prominent, powerful agent of change. And in doing all of this, he's trying to usher in ways to make life a little easier for everyone here in Waterdeep and on the Sword Coast.
You achieve exactly that, raising the standings of living for hundreds of thousands of people. So ends the story of Sanj. Valeria, you're there during the siege of Dragonspear Castle, and you remember well the failures, what went wrong, what you could have done to achieve more, to have sealed the portal, to have killed key members of the Zentarum, to have destroyed the evils entirely. But you vanquished the Zentarum. They've been driven from the Sword Coast. There's only fragments of their organisation remaining, and even what does remain is power. You've taken your revenge, and you've been more successful than you could have hoped. The job is not done, though, and there comes yet more calls to destroy the Zentarum in distant lands, to fight Bane personally in the distant east, and Pale Knight yet hungers for more souls. Do you go to a place where you can harvest them for her? Far eastern lands, the cold world they call Narthel?
I've always envisioned Valeria's story as a tragedy, and I imagine she is similarly pragmatic and realistic in the fact that there won't be a happy ever after for her, no retirement. And after all that's already been described has transpired, and Valeria contemplates on the words of Midnight, in the end she agrees that her current path following Pale Knight is one of deception and destruction, which sends her into an even deeper depression that she has always had deep down, as she contemplates on the actions of her past in service of her patron. And in the end, she resolves to act on Midnight's Dawn, her words, her counsel, and attempts to retrieve her soul from Pale Knight in some small act of redemption to herself.
In your moment of transition, in your moment of decision, And the exact time when you decide to get back that which is yours, Midnight Dawn returns to you. She is again pleading with you to sever your ties with her grandmother. And when she sees that you have resolved not to be a pawn, not a pawn to demon princes or to witch queens or to creatures older than the gods, she asks you, what will you be when you get back that which is yours, when you take back your soul? What will you be?
Nothing. She describes to Midnight that if she were successful, she can't even after all that see any kind of real future for her, and she would probably spend what little time she had left on this plane attempting to help Midnight in whatever fashion she needed. And when Valyria was no longer useful in that cause, which is probably limited in the fact that Midnight is already a far wiser creature than Valyria could ever be, likely far stronger after Pale Knight's power stripped from her, she'd probably plan to travel and find her family's graves once more before finding death in battle and doing what little she can to benefit the world.
Standing back to your parents' graves, when again Midnight Dawn reaches out to you. You won't be nothing, you aren't nothing. You are yourself. We are ourselves, and we can be ourselves. And we can be together. We should be together. And while you think about the futility, or perhaps even the hope within her words, Pale Knight finally intervenes, rarely making her presence known beyond the eternal hunger that she presents, the eternal shadow and threat. She speaks in the rare voice that she uses. And she tells you that she has grown tired. She grows tired of your insolence, and she grows particularly tired of her granddaughter's rebellion. She declares Midnight Dawn to be a traitor, and Pale Knight commands you, under threat of your very soul, now to kill her, to feed her. Her time has come. It is her time to be devoured, and if you refuse, then she shall devour you instead.
Hopeless though she knows it is, she'll turn in between Midnight and this avatar of Pale Lady, Pale Knight as she is known, and try to feign an attack on Pale Knight and uselessly strike at the avatar of Pale Knight in defiance.
Excellent.
She's not afraid of death.
But even now, with all your courage, you feel naught but futility. You have no hope, and yet there is always hope. For you are not alone in this universe, and just as there are things as powerful as Pale Knight, so too are there the gods, particularly here in Faerun. Witnessing your act of love, witnessing your pure act of sacrifice and love, the goddess of love herself, Sune, intervenes. And before Pale Knight can consume your soul, she destroys it. Sune destroys your soul entirely and renders you unto oblivion. This is your final moment of existence. And as everything ends, what is it that you feel?
burden being lifted. Just relief. And the hope of not having this pain anymore, I guess. As a soul destroyed, I mean, I don't, there's no chance of seeing my family again, so yeah, just relief.
So, a story of Valerian. Yours has been a lifetime of excitement. It was hard in the circus, and it was harder still being raised and rejected. But your life has rarely been boring. You've seen amazing things, you've been to amazing places. The experiences that you've had could fill a lifetime, and they have. And it's been a very rich lifetime. Even in the recent year, you've been to the siege at Dragonspear. You were involved in overthrowing the shadow government of Luskan. You were invited down into Menzoberranzan to join the assault, and indeed, you may have been able to establish Aztec and Jewess as a minor power, although it would be little more than a running joke with only half-drowning power. But you have been to Menzoberranzan and participated in shadow wars there as well. It's been an absolute whirlwind. And if you were not, and we're forced to admit, if you were not so prodigiously talented, you would probably be completely out of your depth. You're a common man with uncommon powers. And people have been underestimating you all along, to their own misfortune. Zevram, here you stand, a hero of the Sword Coast. You've been drawn into Drow and Waterdavian politics, and it proves to be even more treacherous than going into Undermountain. You've been spat at and betrayed at every turn. You don't know who to trust. There's been assassination attempts. There's been slander. You've been deliberately given bad advice to guide you into dangerous sailing so that it just makes you look like a bigger fool. But are these the sort of things? Are these the sort of things that a man of power and prestige must endure? And if you do endure them, how do you put up with them? How do you put up with the new life of being a celebrity and a man of power and prestige?
Jealousy can be an ugly thing, but I choose to ignore them and just live my life the best I can. Perhaps changing one mind at a time.
I'd forgotten about to keep asking the questions, but they sort of answer themselves anyway. And if they're not answered by the end of it, we'll reflect on them. But the questions that I have for you, I'm looking at them for the first time since I wrote them, and they are questions for a common man. For all of your adventure and excitement and experience, you remained a very down-to-earth individual, like a teenage superhero at the high school. You know, you still had common faults and thoughts and ambitions for all of the razzle-dazzle that you were directly involved in. So, while you were juggling these political matters and avoiding the attempts on your life, you can't help but notice that Mirabelle has absolutely fallen in love with you. She tries to be wherever you are. She tries to be a part of your life, but clearly doesn't feel like she's good enough to do so. Do you have any feelings for her?
I do. I think I've had feelings for her for a very long time, but obviously I felt such guilt over the accident that I decided to keep my distance. But now that she has, not in so many words, but more or less forgiven me, especially now that she can
adores you.
walk again, I guess I try to lean into it heavily, and just embrace the love that we both have to offer each other.
She's cannot believe that you feel the same way, and she really wants to start a new life with you. Her dreams have come true. She wants to be with you wherever you go. So tell us, where does your life take you now that your ambitions have been fulfilled?
I have lived the adventuring life, and as much as I would love to continue our adventures, I have a different sort of adventure in mind, one that I'd been meaning to do for quite some time, and that is to take our act and head down south to Kalimshan.
I should have seen it all along. Highly successful troops of elephants and dancing horses, illusionists and invokers by the dozen. Petty thieves that you have to deal with.
I let them steal from me, but then I steal back from the Pashas themselves.
Call it the circle of life.
They get to do their job, and I get to balance things out in Kalimshan.
And the clothing that you wear is simply magnificent. And so ends the tale of Zebra. And you might suspect that that is the end of our story. Visiting each of the characters in turn, seeing where they go and what they end up with. But there remains one story yet to be told. Well, we cannot forget about Extrematon, who escaped our clutches down there in Sea Deeps. Where is he? Have we got a picture for Extrematon? I can't see him. He must be under Lutheran. Anyway, the Extrematon has been defeated, and he dares not teleport home. And he plane shifted out there, but the Underdark is a dangerous area, and you can't just teleport from one place to another. You've got to put the hard yards in, even if you're even if you're an illithid mastermind, you've still just got to walk. And so he begins the long journey down to Chichital, which is a mind flayer city deep beneath Waterdeep, some 47 miles below. And he begins his long journey down to Chichital, and after about 2 months or more, he finally reaches his destination. And he is welcomed by the colony, and he is lauded for his achievements. So much has he achieved. The creation of Alterdeep, with the subversion of Waterdeep, the control of the hidden lords. He may be alone in achieving more than any other mind flayer has when it specifically comes to the city of Waterdeep. And all of that information is locked away within his head, and he is able to share it psionically with all the other mind flayers. And they're very excited about this. The information that they get will aid them greatly in their attempts to hatch open Waterdeep in the future. And so successful is he that he is brought between the secret chambers to the ruling council of Chichital, which is a cabal of 8 Alhoons. And this is unusual, because most Mind Flayer colonies are ruled by an elder brain, a great big psionic entity that has the good of the colony in mind and works together to further the betterment of the colony as a whole. But the Alloons are undead Mind Flayers. They consumed their elder brain. It suffered a great wound at some time in the past, and they consumed the elder brain as undead creatures and tried to absorb the knowledge, and it drove them quite mad. But they absorbed it, they did, but they could never serve as a true substitute for the elder brain. So Extrematon comes before the ruling council of Chichito, the cabal of 8 Alloons, and so eager are they to learn everything that he knows that they drive their tentacles deep into his brain and consume between him 1,000 lifetimes of knowledge that he has gained through the simulations of Alterty. Extrematon is slain, but the colony grows stronger. The end.
Wowzers.
Yeah. The Illithid's domination is inevitable.
I love the Illithid storyline. Isn't it essentially that they've managed to take over the whole universe, the whole multiverse, but then they die out because they can't reproduce because they don't have anything to infect with their tadpoles, so they just go back in time and start it all over again?
Yeah. That is a great condensation of it. Yeah.
Really, the true story of the Illithids is they're true masters, the brain dogs.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
That was great. Thanks, Arctic.
Yeah, thank you, Arctic. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
I think I'll hold a special place in my heart for this campaign. It's probably been one of the most fun for me. Next to our first Dale's game.
Yeah. That was also a special campaign.
Well, I think